have
This
discussed about
conference will now be recorded.
the IAM and all. Okay. Yeah. So today we'll see about the security features, like what are the services which you are supposed to use when you're having your data in AWS. Okay. So if you want to build an infrastructure in cloud, especially in AWS, you have to follow the 5 pillars. Yeah. To build an infrastructure. Okay. So creating a software system is like constructing a building. If the foundation is not solid, structural problems can undermine the integrity and function of the building. In the same way, when you are actually architecting the technology solutions, if you neglect the 5 pillars of operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization, it can become challenging to build a system that delivers on your expectations and requirements. Incorporating these pillars into your architecture will help you to produce stable and efficient systems. Now, we will see what are all the 5 pillars in little detail. First comes with the operational excellence. This operational excellence pillar includes the ability to run and monitor systems to deliver business value and to continually improve supporting processes and procedures. And there are 6 design principles for operational excellence. Okay. So the first comes with the perform operations as code. So whenever if you want to do some sort of operations in the cloud, try to automate with the code. Annotate documentation. So for example, if you're a developer and you're building a application, you're developing an application. So usually your managers will ask you to have a documentation beside that. And most of the time, your documentation will not be synced with your application. But in the cloud, you can actually automate it. So for every build, it creates a document for you so that you can use it. And make frequent small reversible changes. So for example, if you want to migrate the whole thing to AWS, do it in parts. Even one part fails, you can reverse it easily. But if you're trying to migrate the whole thing at a time, if it fails, it is a big failure. And refine operations procedures frequently. So once you have a build and infrastructure in the cloud, you have to keep on refining it and anticipate failure. So the next step, or for the what is the disaster recovery if your architecture fails, and learn from all operational failures. So what you can actually do is you can have a team meeting. Okay, so each person might have done some sort of face some sort of issues. They can discuss together so that one person will not do the same mistake what others has done. That's about the operational excellence. Next comes with the security. So this security pillar includes the ability to protect information, systems, and assets while delivering business value through risk assessments and mitigation strategies. And there are 7 design principles for security in the cloud. One is implement a strong identity foundation. So how you can do that? With the help of IAM. Yeah. Enable traceability. So monitor, alert, and audit actions and changes to your environment in real time. So how do you do it? With the help of a CloudWatch and CloudTrail. So CloudWatch is basically a monitoring service which will monitor all the services by default for every 5 minutes for free. Yeah. Whereas the CloudTrail, will discuss that also in little detail later. So this CloudTrail will actually log the events or the activities which you are doing in your account. All the information would be logged as a CloudTrail logs. Okay. So in terms of security, you should be using an IAM and go for CloudWatch or CloudTrail and apply security at all layers. So if you take VPC, we have subnet as a firewall for, NACL as a firewall for your subnet. Whereas we have security group as a firewall for your EC2 instance. Okay, so whenever there is an option of having a security, yes,
Your
any
voice is
questions?
not clear. Actually, it is breaking. Your voice
Um,
is breaking. I don't understand.
okay, so is it the same for everyone? Guys, is that the same for everyone
No,
or only
Anupama,
Rajesh?
I'm right.
So Rajesh, it is not the issue with me. That means maybe you have some sort of network issues.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So please
Yeah, go.
reconnect it.
Thanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So whenever there is a chance of having a security, so please do it at the NACL as well as the security group. Okay. I mean to say apply security at all layers. Next, automated security best practices. So automated security-based security mechanisms improve your ability to securely scale more rapidly and cost effectively. And protect data in transit and at rest. How you can do it? With the help of encryption. And keep people away from data. So who is authorized to access the data? Or most of the time, you're not allowed or you're not supposed to allow some people to touch your data. And prepare for security events. So prepare for an incident by having an incident management process that aligns to your organizational requirements. Okay, so the same way you have to go for the events, discuss together, and then make sure you don't repeat that again. That's about the second pillar. Coming to the reliability, this reliability pillar includes the ability of a system to recover from infrastructure or service disruptions, dynamically acquire computing resources to meet demand, and mitigate disruptions such as misconfiguration or transit network issues. So there are 5 design principles for reliability in the cloud. Test recovery procedures. So in the cloud, you can actually test how your system fails and you can validate your recovery procedures. Okay, so that's basically the disaster recovery. For some reason,
Anupama?
yes,
Yeah, Anupama Sena here. So, for all this, can you give some real-time examples?
of course, right? So I already told you the VPC part, this part, and all. I mean, what do you mean by
Yeah,
real-time
I'm
example?
saying that to relate to in real time, so in infrastructure.
See, dear, if we have a VPC, okay, so you would have built an infrastructure for you, correct? So what I'm telling, if you have a subnet and apply NACL as a layer, as a firewall for your subnet, and if you have an EC2, just go for the security group. Okay, this I have already told you in the VPC only. And to monitor the VPC, go and enable the Cloud Watch. To get the logs, go and enable the Cloud Trail. And to specify the permissions, go for IAM. So all the services which we have already discussed, I'm just consolidating and telling that you're supposed to follow all these things. You see here, protect data in transit and at rest. How you can do it? With the help of encryption. You see? So we have already seen that okay, encryption is not under FreeTAR, but encryption, how encryption works, and if you want to take a snapshot and all we discussed. Yes?
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Yeah. So test recovery procedures. So as said, for example, if you have built an infrastructure, let's take you have an EC2 instances. Mhm. So we have discussed about the Route 53 also, right? So what you can do, you can actually check how your system fails. For example, under the Route 53, you can add 3 instances, okay, and you can just enable the multi-value routing policy. And then you give all the IP addresses under this Route 53. Route 53, domain name. Now, whenever users give a domain name in the browser, it will resolve into any one of the server. So what you do, you wantedly you can stop your server, and then you can check whether this Route 53 is resolving into this server or it is returning this IP address to the browser or not. Obviously, it will not do because it will do the health checks. So that is basically one of the things which you can do to check how your system fails and how you can actually validate your recovery procedures. Or if you go for RDS, we have multi-AZ. Yeah. So multi-AZ is basically it will create two databases, basically the primary one and standby. So you can actually manually stop your instance, or you can terminate your instance, and you can see how it will direct the request to the secondary one. Okay. And automatically recover from failure and scale horizontally to increase aggregate system availability. So replace one large resource with multiple small resources to reduce the impact of a single failure on the overall system. So instead of having a bigger one and having your application, go for smaller ones. Okay. So here, if this fails, the whole thing will fail. But here, only 1/4 will be down. Okay. And stop guessing capacity. You need not worry about the guessing capacity in the cloud. Okay. So almost all the services will give you auto scaling option, and you can just create any how much of volume you want it. Yeah, of course it should be compatible with the compute power. That's a different thing. But you don't have any kind of lacking in the volume size, no. So you need not worry about the capacity, and manage change in automation. So changes to your infrastructure should be done using the automation. The changes that need to be managed are the changes to the automation. So whenever there is an option to automate it, just do it. Next comes with the performance efficiency. So understanding or checking the performance of your services or your virtual machines is also important. So this includes the ability to use the compute resources efficiently to meet system requirements and to maintain that efficiency as demand changes and technologies evolve. And there are 5 design principles for performance efficiency in the cloud. First comes with the democratize advanced technologies. Very simple. See, for example, let's take some sort of emerging technology, which is blockchain or machine learning or artificial intelligence. And these are the emerging technologies. And it is very difficult to get people in this, actually an expertise in this. Because if it is still emerging, you will see very less people and you don't see people having complete knowledge. So what you can actually do is you can just push the complexity to a cloud vendor's domain. You just give the whole knowledge or the complexity of maintaining the servers with this technology to AWS. Okay, so that you can actually concentrate on your core business. You need not worry about the infrastructure. Okay, and once you hire it, you have to give knowledge to them, and you very well know that people will change. I mean, companies, yeah. So to avoid all these things, you can actually use AWS for advanced technologies if you are not aware of it much. And go global in minutes. Next comes with the use serverless architecture. So in the cloud, so serverless architecture doesn't mean that we don't have servers. It is just that you don't manage the servers. Okay. So in the cloud, serverless architecture remove the need for you to run and maintain servers to carry out traditional compute activities. Experiment more often. That is the reason we have a free tier. Mechanical sympathy. So mechanical sympathy is basically according to your business use case. You are supposed to use a particular service in AWS. For example, we have EBS and EFS as a volumes per EC2. If your use case is basically you will have multiple EC2 instances, not just two. You have multiple EC2 instances, and they want to share a common volume. So if this is your use case, you would obviously use EFS. But if you are not aware of this EFS, what you think? So you might be thinking that you have to have an EBS volume. And if this EFS is, for example, 100 GB, what you actually do is you create 100 GB for each EC2 instance, and you attach that volume to it, which is a kind of a wrong way of using cloud. Okay, so what it is telling, use a technology approach that aligns best to what you're trying to achieve. For example, consider data access patterns when selecting database or storage approaches, even for the database. If you're actually going for the relational database, don't go for DynamoDB for non-relational or for non-SQL or no SQL or unstructured. Okay, so according to data access patterns, what exactly is required, you are supposed to opt for that. Next comes with the cost optimization. This cost optimization pillar includes the ability to run systems to deliver business value at the lowest price point. For example, you have a client in your organization and you're actually using AWS to host the client application. Let's say if you have done that. And the client is just paying $100 per month, let's assume that, and you're actually paying $110 to AWS, which is not at all a good thing. Okay, so even if you follow the last four pillars, and if you're not following this pillar, it's a blunder. Okay, so this cost optimization pillar is also equally important. Yeah, so we have 5 design principles for that. Adopt a consumption model. So pay only for the compute resources that you require and increase or decrease usage depending on the business requirements. So it is just that pay for what exactly you are using it. Measure overall efficiency. So measure the business output of the workload and the cost associated with delivering it. So you keep on measure the efficiency of the servers or the services which you're using in AWS, and stop spending money on data center operations. You need not worry about the data center operations or the maintenance of data center or the servers. No, you can actually just use cloud. Yeah, and all the maintenance will be taken care of the cloud. Analyze and attribute expenditure. So you have to keep on analyzing it when you're actually spending some sort of money. The cloud makes it easier to accurately identify the usage and the cost of the systems, which then allows transparent attribution of IT costs to individual workload owners. And use managed and application level services to reduce the cost of ownership. So actually, if you go for the Oracle, if you want to go for the Oracle DB, you can actually use RDS as well as EC2. The thing is, like, RDS is managed, but if you want to go for the EC2, you have to spin the EC2 server, deploy a database, and you have to manage the database as well as the EC2, and of course the snapshot and a lot of things. But if you go for RDS, you really very well know, we have discussed in the last classes that RDS is a managed service, and we have seen what all things it will manage. Okay, so what exactly AWS is recommending you to go for the managed services to reduce the cost of ownership. So here you have to manage it. Here someone should manage some of the things, and you just concentrate on your database or data in the database. Yeah, so that's about the 5 pillars of the framework, the AWS framework. Like when you're building an infrastructure in the cloud, you should include all these 5 pillars, and or you're supposed to follow the design principles under each pillar. Next comes with the trusted advisor. So trusted advisor. So you can actually trust this advisor. This trusted advisor will actually notify you if you are not following some of the pillars of framework. We will see one by one. Okay. So if you see here, this trusted advisor will actually monitor your cost optimization, your performance, your security, fault tolerance, and service limits. And if you're actually not optimizing the cost, we'll see the examples later, it will give you a warning. If you're fine with the performance, it will not throw in error. If it is a a serious issue or a critical issue, it will give you a serious warning, a critical warning. Okay, so this trusted advisor, if you go and enable it, it will monitor some of the pillars or some of the features. Okay, so this trusted advisor acts like your customized cloud expert. Yes, so you need not worry about the third party a resource or a resource to give you an advice on it. Okay, and it helps you to provision your resources by following best practices. And this trusted advisor inspects your AWS environment and finds opportunities to save money, improve system performance and reliability, or help close gaps, security gaps. We'll see one by one. Okay, so if you see here, as an AWS customer, you want the most value from your investment, and trusted advisor can help you in that. So what trusted advisor will do? It will scans your AWS infrastructure, compares it to the best AWS best practices in the 5 categories, and provides recommended actions. What are the 5 categories? As said, the cost optimization, the performance, security, fault tolerance, and service limits. Comes with the cost optimization check. We'll see all the 5 pillars examples. Okay. For example, if you have an EC2 instance and the CPU utilization was less than is 10% or less than that, that means you're actually not using this EC2 instance. It will throw you a warning telling that, see, you're having an EC2 instance, but you're not using it. It's again, you're paying for that. So it's a cost optimization check or it's a warning for you. Underutilized EBS volumes. If you have an EBS volume and you're not using it, obviously, unassociated elastic IP address. So you have created an elastic IP address, but you're not using it. And Amazon RDS idle DB instances. So you created an RDS database and you're not using it. It is just idle, not used by any application. These are some of the examples under the cost optimization check. Next comes with the performance check. For example, if you have an EC2 instance again, and this time the CPU utilization is 90%. So if the CPU utilization is increasing, the performance may go down. Yes, it will warn you to create another EC2 instance at least. And large number of rules in a security group. So if you have multiple rules in a security group like SSH, HTTP, and you added multiple rules, actually, if you add multiple rules, the performance can be degraded. It will give you a warning. So please reduce the rules. Overutilized EBS magnetic volumes. So you have created a volume, but that is magnetic type. But you are actually utilizing these magnetic volumes a lot. Then AWS would recommend to create an EBS volume, either SSD or HTTP. Okay, so to get a good benefit from them. Yeah. Next comes with the security checks. So when you're actually creating a security group, if you keep the source as anywhere, that means anyone can access your EC2 instance if you have enabled SSH for your EC2. Okay, so it will give you a warning telling that this is open to the world. No, just change it. It's a warning. EBS public snapshots. If you have some sort of snapshots and that are public, yes, it will give you a warning. And then CloudTrail logging. If you have not enabled the CloudTrail logging, yes, it will tell you, please do that, so that actually you can monitor the actions which are happening in your account. Okay, and then we have fault tolerance checks. So we have EBS snapshot under that, and check the age of the snapshot for your EBS volumes available or in use. Okay, and EC2 availability zone balance. So for example, if you have a region and you have multiple availability zones, and you have all the EC2s in a single availability zone, that's not fault tolerance, right? For some reason, if this goes down, all the EC2 instances in this particular availability zone will face a downtime. But if you have EC2 instances spreaded in different availability zone, then for some reason, if this goes down, only 1/3 will be gone. It's again fault tolerant. Even if there is a fault, it is tolerant enough. RDS backups, obviously, it will check whether you have taken a backups for RDS or not. Yeah, for some reason, if this RDS database goes down, you still have a backup to restore it. And multi-AZ, obviously, yes, it will create two databases in different availability zone for high availability. It's again fault tolerance. And S3, bucket logging. Okay, so check the logging configuration of your S3 buckets. The last comes with the service limit checks. So service limit is basically, for example, if you go for EC2 or if you go for VPC, you can create only 5 VPCs per region. Yes, and you have created 4 VPCs. That means you have utilized 80% of the service limits. So it will give you a warning telling that you have already used 80. That is service limit checks. Okay, so EBS active snapshots, it will check for the usage that is more than 80% of your EBS active snapshots. Elastic IP address, so you can create 5 elastic IP addresses per region. So if you have used 80%, it will warn you. DBS, RDS DB instances, check for the usage that is more than 80% of your RDS DB instance limit. So you can also create only few DBs in AWS. And VPC, again, I already told you, internet gateways also. So if you have, you can have only one internet gateway for one VPC. That means if this VPC limit is 5, obviously the internet gateway limit is also 5. Okay, so whenever you cross 80%, it will just go and warn you. Okay, so that's about the trusted advisor. So it will advise you in some of the 5 components, and it is trusted enough. Now, if you already have a trusted advisor, then why we? Have you got this question? So a trusted advisor itself is checking all these things. Then why we are? Any guesses? Yeah? Just tell me yes or no. Any idea? Yes or no?
No, Anupama.
Thanks for replying it. Yes. See, for example, if you build an infrastructure as an architect, then this trusted advisor will go and check your infrastructure. But trusted advisor cannot build the infrastructure, no? Yeah. So I'm just trying to refine what are all the roles and responsibilities as a solutions architect associate or as a solutions architect in the cloud or in AWS. Okay. So the solutions architect will not do all these things. We have some services to do that, but we build the infrastructure and we just keep on refining it by following the 5 pillars or with the trusted advisor. Okay, so understood? So without we, trusted advisor can't do anything. So So if you build an infrastructure, then trusted user will come into picture. I hope you got the difference. Next comes with the cloud trail. So whatever it may be the activity happening in your account, if you want to log in, log that activity, that you can actually do it with the help of CloudTrail. Yes. If you ask me, even the console login and log off also will be registered. Yeah. Okay, I just have it open. No worries. So we'll see about CloudTrail. So CloudTrail is an AWS service that helps you to enable governance, compliance, and operational and risk auditing for your AWS account. Actions taken by a user or a role or any AWS service are recorded as events in CloudTrail. These events include actions taken in the console or the CLI or SDKs and APIs. First of all, what are all the activities which are happening in your account can be logged with the help of CloudTrail. And even if you take or even if you access some sort of services either through console or through a CLI or through API or SDKs, it will monitor, to say it will create a logs for you. Okay, and CloudTrail is enabled on your AWS account when you create it. Yes. And when activity occurs in your AWS account, that activity is recorded in a CloudTrail event. You can usually view recent events in the CloudTrail console by going to the event history. So what I'm trying to tell is, if you have a CloudTrail, so this CloudTrail is already enabled by default as soon as you create your AWS account. And you can actually see the recently visited or recently done activities in the CloudTrail history or in the event history. Okay, so let me just go back to the CloudTrail. It's loading. Yeah. So if you just go to the event history, here comes with the event history. So if I can just scroll down, you see, I can see all the information. So I think this is today's date, and I have logged in at 10:45. Console login. Okay, so all the events would be registered. If you see here, all the events. Yesterday we are talking about the IAM, right? You see, at this time. Yeah. Visibility in your AWS account activity is a key aspect of security and operation best practices. So at any point of time, if your manager will come and ask you who did that, when did it happen, okay, what is the time, everything can be logged in the CloudTrail. Okay, so you might not be knowing that it was logged for your account, but it will be logged if you enable the CloudTrail. But you can actually create a trail again with sort of a free tier, but as soon as you created AWS account, it was enabled by default, and you will see the last 90 days of your data. The last 9 days of your activity in your account. We'll see that anyways. Now, you can use CloudTrail to view, search, download, archive, analyze, and respond to account activity across your AWS infrastructure. And you can identify who or what took what action, what resources were acted upon, when the event occurred, other details to help you to analyze and respond to activity in your AWS account. Okay, so if you just go and enable the CloudTrail and create the logs, which you can actually keep it in S3 also, you can go and analyze it later in point of time and can create 5 trails per region, and it cannot be increased. So now how CloudTrail works. There are two types of trails for an AWS account. A trail that applies to all regions and a trail that applies to one region. Yes. So when you are creating a trail and when you are creating a trail for all regions, means all the activities happening in different regions will be logged in a single S3 bucket in a particular region. Okay. For example, I have enabled R2, R2, R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, and then I have enabled the cloud trail to go for all regions. Okay. So the now later in point of time, I want to expand to R5 also. So as soon as I build my infrastructure in R5, automatically the activities happening in this region also will be logged in S3. You need not specifically add this region. No, it's not required. Okay, so that is basically a trail that applies to all regions, and this is the definition when you create a trail in the console. So for example, if I go to dashboard and if I see here applied trail, if you see here applied trail to all regions is yes by default in the console. Guys,
Anupama, this time we are not able to hear. I'm not able to hear you. I do not know about others. It's breaking.
okay, now
Now also it's breaking.
okay, so I will repeat it again.
Not able to hear anything. If it is okay for others, I can go to recording, but I'm not sure whether others are able to hear you or not.
No, no, I'm also
Okay,
same
so
problem.
now you can hear me?
No, Anupama, nothing. We are not able to hear you.
Okay. Okay, no problem. So guys, can you hear me now? Am I clear?
Yeah, okay,
Yes,
Anupama, go ahead.
yeah, okay now.
Oh, great, great. Fine. So what I'm trying to tell is a trail that applies to all regions. Okay. So when you just create a trail that applies to all regions, what are all the infrastructure are there, or what is the infrastructure there in different regions? All the activity would be logged in S3 bucket. And later in point of time, even if you add another region, CloudTrail automatically logs the activity which is happening in this region also. Okay, so that is the advantage if you go for the trail that applies to all regions. Okay, and this is a default option when you create a trail in the console. So if I can just go to open the trail, and then if I see here, okay, so the trail name and apply trail to all regions is yes by default in the console. Okay, and a trail that applies to one region. So as usual, if you just apply a trail for one region and you give a specific specific region, whenever or whatever may be the activity happening in this region would be logged in the or to the S3 bucket. And this is the default option when you create a trail using the CLI or the API. Okay, so a trail that applies to all regions and a trail that applies to only one region. Next comes with the cloud trail concepts. So we'll see one by one. An event in a cloud trail is a record of an activity in an AWS account. So what is an event? An activity which is in AWS account is an event. And this activity can be an action taken by a user or a role or a service. And cloud trail events provide a history of both API and non-API account activities made through the console, CLI, or other services. And there are two types of events that can be logged in CloudTrail. One is a management events and other one is the data events. By default, Trail log management events but not data events. Okay, so it will log management events but not data events by default. And both management and data events use the
Uh,
same CloudTrail.
what is management event and data event?
We'll discuss here. We'll discuss one by one. No worries. I'll
Okay,
not
no
skip.
problem. So, yeah.
No worries. I'll give you the information about it. So both the management and the data events uses the same CloudTrail JSON log format. So what would be the format of the logs? It would be in JSON. You see, it's in JSON format. Okay. So CloudTrail does not log all services. Nah, some of the services are exceptional. AWS was not yet enabled for that. And some services do not enable logging for all APIs and events. Okay, as said. Coming to the management events. So these management events provide information about management operations that are performed on resources in your AWS account. These are also known as control plane operations. Okay, for example, registering the devices, EC2 creating an EC2 instance, configured the routing. Okay, and if you see here, management events can also include non-API events that occur in your AWS account. For example, user sign into your account, CloudTrail logs the console log event also. Okay, so when you're creating an EC2 instance, creating a VPC, creating a subnet, all these are all management events. If I can just go to the event history again. Okay, so by default, it will go for all management only. So these are all management events. You see, console login, event. You see, console login event. Okay, so even if you create a security group or an instance, that would be created as a management log or treated as a management log. Coming to the data events. So these data events provide information about the resource operations performed on or in a resource. These are also known as data plane operations. And these data events are often high volume activities. For example, S3 object level API activity like get object, delete object, put object. So uploading an object into S3 is basically a high volume activities, obviously. Okay, and data events are disabled by default when you create a trail. And to record CloudTrail data events, you must explicitly add to a trail that support resources or resource types for which you want to collect activity. So if I can just go back to the dashboard and create a trail, at least give it. So if you see here, these are basically the management events. Okay, so management events are records of actions that are performed or on or within resources in your AWS account. Or you can actually log read-write events, read only, write only, or none. Or you can optionally go for log AWS KMS events also. Who is accessing your encryption keys and all? You can enable it optionally. Okay, and whereas data events basically are the records of resource operations performed on or within resource. Okay, where you have S3 and Lambda. Okay, so the management events are also known as a control plane, and data events are also known as the data plane operations. Next comes with the insight events. So the CloudTrail insights events capture unusual activity in your AWS account. So if you have enabled, or if you have insights events enabled, and CloudTrail detects unusual activity. So insight events are logged to a different folder or a prefix in the destination S3 bucket. So you have created an S3 bucket to create the logs. So you have management events as well as the data events. So you can also enable insight events where it will log the unusual activity for your account, but it will create a log in a separate prefix, and it will create logs. So you can actually easily find it. Next comes with the CloudTrail event history, which you have already seen it. So this CloudTrail event history provides a viewable, searchable, and downloadable record of past 90 days of CloudTrail events. As said that, you can actually see all the data or all the events which are happening in the last 90 days in the CloudTrail event history by default for free. You can also download them also in JSON or CSV format. Excuse me. You can use this history to gain visibility into actions taken into your AWS account in the console, SDK, or CLI and other services. Yeah. And next comes with the organization trails. So before that, if I can just go to the insights, you see insight events are recorded that capture an unusual call volume of write management APIs, and it's telling urgent charges apply, and you can go and enable it. And by default, this is disabled. Okay. Organization trails. So very simple. So what is an organization, which we have already discussed in the IIM topic? So if you have multiple accounts, okay, account N, and now you want to manage all the accounts. So what you can do, you can go for an organization part where you have a single account. It's basically called a master or a parent account, and these will be the child accounts. Okay, so the organization trails are basically the configuration that enables delivery of CloudTrail events in the master account and all member accounts in an organization to an S3 bucket. So if you can just go for give S3 bucket and enable the organization trails, what are all the activities which are happening in all the accounts will be logged in a single bucket, is at the accounts level. These are all the regions at the regions level we have seen. Okay, and creating an organization trail helps you to define a uniform event logging strategy for your organization. So how do you manage CloudTrail? Through console, through CLI, or through API. Next comes with the encryption. So by default, this CloudTrail encrypts all log files delivered to your specified S3 bucket using server-side encryption. Optionally, you can add a layer of security to your CloudTrail log files by encrypting the log files with KMS. Okay. The last topic in CloudTrail is basically validating the CloudTrail log file integrity. Very simple. Now, it is true that if I give an S3 bucket name or a bucket, whatever maybe the events are happening, it will be saved in S3 bucket. Now, what if someone changes this, someone deletes it, modifies it? So you can also validate the CloudTrail log file integrity. It's important, guys. Just remember. So what exactly is that? You understood, right? So if someone is trying to modify or change, you can actually caught them. I mean, actually, you can catch them. Yeah. So to determine whether a log file was modified, deleted, or unchanged after CloudTrail delivers it, you can use CloudTrail log file integrity validation. So this feature is built using industry standard algorithms, SHA 256 like secure hash algorithm for hashing and SHA 256 with RSA for digital signing. So they are using some technology or some algorithms to go for to check the integrity of the log file. Okay, some SHA and all. Yeah, and now we'll see how it works. So when you enable log file integrity validation, CloudTrail creates a hash for every log file that delivers it. Okay, so now every hour, CloudTrail also creates and delivers a file that references the log files contains hash of each. For example, in the last hour, you got some set of logs. So it creates a hash, a separate hash for each log file, and these hashes will here CloudTrail delivers a log file to the last house and contains a hash of each. And this file is called digest file. And CloudTrail digest the of a
Anupama,
public
again
data.
your voice is breaking. Is it same with Rajesh?
Yeah, yes, yes, sure. For me also not able to clear voice.
Guys, again, it is an issue with the GoToMeeting. It's throwing me an error saying that the audio is something having a problem with the audio. Is it fine now?
Yeah,
See, this is an issue with the GoToMeeting time. I'm facing with other sessions also.
No, no, no.
Okay,
They're
so
still not able to hear you properly.
okay, so let me connect back before.
Yeah.
Guys, can you hear me now? Yeah? No?
I just yeah, can you again speak?
So can you hear me now? Am I clear?
Yes, yes. No, I'm hearing like
Okay,
a
great.
few words is okay, then again it is breaking. You start
Okay, so let me
with yeah. You,
okay, let me just complete this, dear. Okay, you can just go to the recording also. It's the last topic. Okay? Yeah. So, what I'm trying to tell is to check the validation of a log file. Okay, so guys, even I'm not able to hear your voice properly, the same thing. So I'm just hearing some sort of few words and then it's breaking. Okay, so to check the validation of a log file, AWS would create another file which give the references of this log file contains a hash of each. and this file is called a digest file. Okay, and CloudTrail signs each digest file using the private key of a public and private key pair. Okay, guys, just give me a minute. So the CloudTrail signs, as said, it will sign the each digest file using a public and private key. Okay, so after delivery, you can use the public key to validate the digest file. Okay, and the CloudTrail uses a different key pair for each AWS region. Okay, and the digest files are delivered to the same S3 bucket associated with your trail as your CloudTrail log files. And if your log file are delivered from all regions or from multiple accounts into a single S3 bucket, CloudTrail will deliver the digest files from those regions and accounts into the same bucket. Okay, for example, if you have an S3 bucket for one region, all the digest files will be in S3. But if you have in different regions and in different accounts also, still the digest file will be delivered to the same S3 bucket. Okay, and the digest files are put into a folder separate from the log files. Okay, so if you have some sort of log files, the digest files would be having a will have a different prefix. That's how it separates. Okay, like this, it will have a different folder name or a prefix name. Okay, so that's about validating CloudTrail log file entity. Am I clear now?
Anupam will go through recording, then we'll have any question, we'll
Okay,
ask
fine,
it
dear.
to you. Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes, please. So today, right? So please complete the recording before you come to my class. That would be really great. Because once we done with CloudWatch, we have a quiz. So you will get 2 days gap. Better you just revise it and come back because you have to answer the quiz also. Yeah. Hello, guys. We'll end the
Yeah,
call then. If you're, yeah, great,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
So if you don't
Okay,
have any
bye.
questions, yeah, chalo, bye bye.